What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
What happened?
Not sure.
Just went. The intro. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debate. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
I'm Tom, the OG Fake Kid, the staple of the Turnbuckle Debate.
And our special guest joining us today, one of our longest, most tenured guests here at the debate, Mr. Mark Bitters. What's going on, man? How are you?
I've been on this podcast so many times. My face is in the intro video. That was great.
Oh, yeah. We probably haven't had that since he's been on.
Yeah.
No, that was my first time seeing it. I was about to complain that I was on this show so many times that I wasn't in the video, and then boom, my face popped up. That was great.
I don't know why the intro ended early. I wasn't even touching the computer.
Yeah, that threw me off a little bit.
You caught us off guard,
yeah.
Everybody watching.
Yeah, that was a very real intro
Yeah.
right there. So we're going to leave it in. We're going to keep it going, man. Mark, what's been going on with you, man?
I've been busy, man. I've been traveling. I've been all over. I mean, the U.S. and I mean, really the North America the past year. It's been a very unexpected journey this past year between my travel, my wife's travel, even my child, keeping him in school as much as we can. It's been a whirlwind the past 365 days. Just been nuts.
How now? I'm sure everybody knows Mark works for Impact. You've been traveling with them a little bit. How's that been? Being on the road?
I should clear. I don't work for Impact. I'm not on the payroll. I'm technically I think my classification is a volunteer or ring crew or something along those lines. That is not
semantics.
I don't want to get myself in trouble, but yes, I absolutely have my Impact family now. I've been on the road, going to every Impact show, helping out where I can, since like August of last year. So like almost a year and a half now. And I've been traveling to, we do all the Chicago shows. Luckily, Impact was in Chicago 3 times this year, but we also went to Florida. We were in Atlanta. We went to Vegas. We were in New York. We were in Windsor, Canada. We were in Ohio. We were in Louisville, Kentucky. I've been all over the U.S. following around this company, and really, I mean, busting my ass for this company, and it's because I love this business and I love wrestling. But I do have to give it up to Impact as well. Like I said, I'm not an employee, but they still recognize hard work, and they have done nothing but give me opportunity after opportunity, recognizing that I'm putting my best foot forward with them and giving my heart to them, and they're rewarding me with random stuff like occasional like referee matches. Other random like little bonuses that I don't think I can talk about in here, but they definitely take care of me. I absolutely love Impact, and I mean, behind the scenes, like their schedule, I could not work for any other company. The Impact records shows every 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, and in between that, there's no requirements. There's nothing we have to do, so I'm able to have my full-time real job while I just wait for the next Impact show to come around and hope that my real job doesn't like overlap when the Impact show comes around. And for the past, 18 months or so, we've been lucky and been successful in doing that.
That's awesome, man.
That's awesome.
It's been great. It's been really great.
Together. Yeah.
Is your agent, and I'll get you double what you're making right now.
Oh, double. Let's see. Double times 15, $30.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we have 3 new topics to debate. Like we said, you're no stranger. You know
I know
how we roll here. So if you guys are ready, man, we got to get into it.
Let's do it.
First topic of the evening. The Continental Classic. Too many belts, too many tournaments. Seems like there's this has kind of been coming about the past few weeks. So
yeah, and the weird thing is they announced it's a 12-person round robin tournament similar to New Japan's G1, where points are awarded for wins, draws, and it came out last week that this is going to be a Triple Crown tournament. So the winner will be awarded the ROH World title, the New Japan Strong title, and I'm guessing the Continental title, which is a new AEW title. So you'll essentially be the champion of 3 promotions, but Tony's kind of making it seem like all of these titles are going to be unified under a Triple Crown banner. So it's kind of confusing. You hear the fans talk about AEW does too many tournaments. AEW has too many belts. What do you guys think?
I'll say
I know nothing about this. I don't follow AEW. I don't really follow WWE that much. But I've heard about the tournament in the last couple of days, but I had no idea it was a point-based like G1 similar like esque tournament. This is the first time they've done a point-based system tournament, right?
Yes.
Other than like when they first started and they were keeping track of like wins and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
That's interesting. Tom, what you were going to say? I'm putting my thoughts together.
I'm a guy who loves tournaments, so I'll never complain about tournaments. Doing it a different way like this, I'm here for. I love it. I wish, though, they would have announced it. Like they did the special selection episode today. Today's Wednesday. We're recording on Wednesday. I think it should have been announced, and then they should have given us that right away, given us the full details, everybody who's in it, not leaving us hanging so much.
At least at the pay-per-view, I feel like they should have announced the full slot.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we don't know. Is this going to be a title that's going to be defended? Is it going to be like the Owen Hart title where you just get a belt? Because if they're going to have this tournament every year, I don't like the idea of like, oh, you're the champion now, and then you get to defend it. But next year, what happens in the tournament again? You get to defend it.
You have 3 championships.
It's a prize. It's not like a championship. Yeah.
No, from what I'm gathering, it is. You will be defending the ROH World title.
Yeah. You
will be defending the New Japan World Strong title and this Continental title. And it will be. Yeah. You will.
So it's not unified.
Right.
That's where it's confusing.
Right.
That's where it's confusing because it's not one title. There's actually 3 belts, and you will be recognized for each company. Now, ROH and AEW, it's the same, it's Tony Khan, but you will go to New Japan and be recognized as their champion and defend their belt. And it won't be like the Owen Hart Cup where it's just kind of like a trophy and you don't defend it. This will be defenses. And from what I gather, when Tony was talking about in the scrum, when it rolls back around, you will be in the tournament, but it will be up for grabs again. So you could win the tournament 2 years in a row, or a new person could win and take all those titles again.
Yeah, I don't love that part of it. That seems kind of confusing.
It sounds like 4 good ideas all rolled into one, and when you put them together, it's a terrible idea.
Supposedly it's based off of, I guess All Japan did this in, I want to say the late 80s, early 90s, and it was a Triple Crown title with 3 separate promotions, putting all the belts together. When I first heard about it, I thought this was going to be a consolidation where they were consolidating the ROH World title and the New Japan Strong title all together to make one title that was represented by each company.
Yeah.
But it's confusing. I'll say this, like too many tournaments. If this was just like an eliminator tournament, I would probably say, yeah, maybe AEW is doing too many tournaments. I think the point system, how they're modeling it after G1, how they're saying absolutely no interference. This is supposed to be pure wrestling, and it's going from now until they crown the champion December 30th. So it's going to be a featured storyline in a pretty down part of the year for any promotion. I feel like December's usually pretty slow for most companies. So to give us something like this where you can track the points similar to G1, I like that. I think it does set it. It feels like a more important tournament to me than anything else they'd ever done. I'm kind of iffy on the title though. I don't know how I feel with the title because if it was just creating this Continental title, I might be a little more warm to it, even though I think they have a little bit too many titles to begin with. But the fact that they're rolling in these other 2 titles with this, it seems kind of convoluted.
Go back to the no interference thing.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a pure wrestling tournament.
No one's allowed to ringside.
Okay, but it's not like in a cage or anything, right? No. There's nothing to protect it from outside interference. He's just saying, when did he say this? In the scrum?
He said it the scrum. He said it in the thing they did on YouTube today when they announced all the
I hate that. Hey guys, this wrestling over here is totally fake, and we're gonna have interference, and we're gonna have all sorts of like smaz endings. Over here, it's gonna be pure wrestling. Don't worry about it. You don't have to worry. You know what I mean? Like you're breaking that wall you're breaking kayfabe right there by saying there's no interference guaranteed. Well, what about the rest of your shows?
Well, exactly. It's like, well, I'll allow it to happen any other time, but for this tournament, yeah, I'm the same way. It's kind of weird. Like, why
do you want to put, like I said, if you want to put a cage on it, like if you want to make it like there's no interference, so we've put a cage on it, and maybe have a guy come down and like try to get him, but show that he can't get in. Okay, then we're done. Then there's no interference, and then you can just have your pure wrestling. You don't have dives then, but I hate that. I absolutely hate that.
It's Tony kowtowing to the critics that say there's too many interferences in matches, too many factions getting involved in matches, and it's him trying to. Because if you remember when AEW first started, the big thing that Cody Rhodes was beating the drum of was this is going to be more sport.
Right.
This is going to be a sport type of wrestling presentation. And now I feel like Tony's saying this is going to be kind of similar to G1. It's going to be all about the wrestling, all about the pageantry.
Yeah, in my opinion, he does too much talking and promising. Like, make it like G1 if you want to. Don't have interference and just have it like a pure wrestling sport or event and then whatever. But don't tell us that. Just do it. Right? Exactly. Problem solved.
You could also have a rule if you have outside interference, you're eliminated from the tournament if somebody comes out to help you.
But then somebody comes out and screws somebody else.
Yeah.
I mean, I come out and help you because I want you to get eliminated.
And the ref doesn't see it. You can get around that.
The wrestling. The one thing I will say about tournaments in AEW, they've got the production value. They've got the audience. They've got the audience, meaning they have a television show. They have the graphic abilities to make it clear as to what's going on in your tournament versus like I've done indies that like to do tournaments and they don't get over and people don't get invested in them because they cannot see the bracket.
Right.
I feel like if you're doing it, if you do a bracket on the indies, you need to invest in a piece of plywood painted black and you need to like make the brackets so everybody can follow along and show this guy got eliminated, this guy moved on, because otherwise 3 matches from now, they're not going to remember who won 2 matches ago. And they're going to be wondering why this guy's coming out again. And did this guy get eliminated? I've been on shows where they've done like double eliminations. It's been, I don't like that. They tie themselves in knots needlessly when simpler is better. And I think with television that AEW has, I think they can keep it simple. And I think for that reason, I'm okay with it. But I'm also like not the diehard AEW fan that like knows how many tournaments they've done previously, right? So like I'm just going off of this one tournament. I do think they could be successful. When they do other tournaments, do they make a big deal about the graphic and they cut to it after every match and everything?
I mean, they have the bracket and everything. They keep you in the know. Most of their other tournaments outside of the Owen Hart Cup they're just like little eliminator tournaments to get like a title shot. There's no like prestige behind it. Okay. This one definitely feels like there's a big to-do about it. Because the way
4-match tournaments, not really
the way they're setting this up. There's 2 brackets. There's a gold bracket and a blue bracket. Each bracket has 6 wrestlers. Those 6 wrestlers have to wrestle each person in their bracket. So you're going to essentially be having 5 matches. And
are they doing this like the G1? Are they doing this in like a 2-week period?
Oh yeah, it's all the way up until December 30th. So each wrestler is going to wrestle 5 times across Dynamite, Collision, on TV. These are going to be televised.
I guess they do have enough shows. Okay.
Yeah, and so a win gets you 3 points, a draw gets you 1 point. And then I guess out of those 5 matches, you're going to be awarded points. The person who has the most points will go on to the pay-per-view to face the winner from the other bracket to determine who wins it all.
Okay.
So that's essentially how it's set up.
When's the pay-per-view?
December 30th.
Wow, they're doing this all in a month. Okay. As long I'm okay with it. I don't mind it. To answer your question, so they have too many. I don't know if they have too many belts, too many tournaments. And I go, okay, I also can't answer that. This tournament, I'm okay with. That's what I can answer.
Yeah,
It sounds like
I don't think they have
tournament. I'm fine with the amount of tournaments. I don't hate a tournament. I think they've done a good job making tournaments mean something. They're not just meaningless tournaments. As far as the belts go with this one, I don't. Right now, man, I'm just out on it. Like, what does this do for Eddie Kingston? Because both of his titles are in this.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
I will say
I thought these were all vacant titles. That's fantastic.
No, so Eddie is the ROH champion and the New Japan Strong champion.
So he holds 2 titles right now, and he put them up for grabs to make this a triple crown tournament. So
simplistic. You just have to make it. I feel like my gut instinct is that the one of his belts was on the line, and he's like, "Well, I have this other belt. You know, we might as well just crown that on this guy. Just add it to the thing. It'll be a bigger tournament. We'll have 3 belts instead of 2 belts." And then it just kind of got out of control from there. As long as they are like clear with their explanations. But I feel like that's all wrestling. Like the more you explain it, and the more I'm not saying beat it down their throats, but like you need to explain exactly what's happening. Like you guys are complaining about what happens after the tournament. Are the belts unified or do they split off? We don't know, right? Right. We need stakes. We need to know what's happening with everything, and it doesn't sound like we have any of that.
Well, it would, if it was the ROH TV title, it would make sense to just roll because the New Japan Strong open weight title, it's a newer title. So it would make sense for them to roll that into a belt and make one belt. I could even see like you've got the big middle plate, and on the side plate, you could have ROH, and on the other side plate, you could have New Japan. And it would make sense as a one unified belt. But the fact that they're putting the ROH world title in this, it's like, man, you're taking a title with a lot of prestige behind it, a lot of big names, goes all the way back to the early 2000s, and you're rolling it into this tournament. I mean, it does add some importance to it, but it's so cloudy that I don't know how to feel about it until I firmly know what's going on with these belts.
Exactly. It's the same way I felt about the All Atlantic title, which is now the international title. Now I love the title. In the beginning, I'm like, not another belt. And right now they have all their books the belts are the best they've ever been. All the belts mean something right now.
Yep, I agree. All the titles mean something.
They've done a great job at rebuilding them. The TNT title has just been amazing since it's been on Christian and Luchasaurus for the last however long it's been. I'm not ready to throw another belt into that because everything else is finally working. And why do we need another belt to balance at this point? So I wasn't sure if it was going to be defended, but I guess it is. But I can't help but wonder if this is their way to slowly start eliminating Ring of Honor belts.
That's what it feels like to me. That's what I think, Tom. I think this is a way to slowly creep towards getting rid of that.
Yeah, should be interesting to see how it plays out.
The field is important. The one big thing, all the tournaments they've done in the past, you'll usually have 2 really big names that you just know are going to be in the finals, and then it'll be filled with, mid-carders who aren't going to win. In this tournament, the 12 guys they have in it, it's a pretty impressive field. I mean, big names. The only name that was missing from it that I was hoping they were going to throw in there was Kenny Omega.
Exactly, 100% agree.
But other than that, I mean, it's a loaded field of top guys.
My guess, just seeing it, I think this is Danielson's tournament to win.
I think it's going to be Danielson and Swerve in the finals.
Oh, please give it to me.
I think that's my early prediction. Yeah.
So the who is in the tournament? We have Andrade, Bryan Danielson, Eddie Kingston, Brody King, Claudio, Daniel Garcia in the blue league. In the gold league, we have Mark Briscoe, John Moxley, Swerve, Roosh, Jay Lethal, and Jay White.
It's a loaded group of guys, man.
Big names.
And it's exciting because you're going to get all of those matchups across the next 5 weeks. So
that's crazy.
Should be fun.
Exciting.
Yeah, once this plays out, once the tournament's over, we may revisit this question again and
to see if it,
see, once it plays out, if it's going to be something that, that we're okay with.
I'm up in the air right now.
Right now, it's for me, it's a little too convoluted right now. I'm not sold on it. So
I'm excited for the tournament.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical of the titles in the tournament, but
Right.
I'm excited for the tournament itself.
all right, guys. Anybody have any final thoughts on the Continental Classic before we move on?
I'm good.
All right. We'll move on to the second topic of the evening. Should wrestling have an off season? Now, Mark, this was the topic that you brought to the table, so I'll defer to you to go first on this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a topic. Obviously, I'm not the first person to ask this question. When I was coming up with this question, I wasn't necessarily thinking. I'm not like saying pro wrestling. Like, okay, it's November. Everybody stops pro wrestling. Indie wrestling shuts down. No wrestling on TV. I'm really talking. Let's just stick with the big leagues, WWE and AEW. Should they have an off season to let their guys rest, let them heal up? Versus, well, I guess there's two options. Versus option one, everybody just works 365 days a year, and you can just keep stories going the entire time, and injuries are going to come quicker and quicker and quicker there. Option two, I mean, might be feasible, but I think it also has its downsides where maybe 6 months out of the year, you are working with, set A of guys, and then slowly you rotate some of those out, bring in other guys. And through the year, one specific guy is only working, 6 to 9 months and not the entire time because he's been rotated out. The problem with that is you have like a hard out for every one of these guys at some point, and that's going to have an impact on on the stories that you can tell, right? Like if pick Roman, for example. If Roman has a hard out and he can only work 9 months out of the year, well, he's got this very long title reign. Now, all of a sudden, you're not going to see him for 3 months in a row.
That's what he's doing anyway. Sorry.
You see him, but I'm saying off TV altogether. Like no travel, no nothing. Like he's at home on his recliner, feet are up, he's relaxing. You know what I mean? It's
Oh yeah.
I feel like there's one of three options that you'd have to go with, and I don't know which one is best. The off season altogether, where it's just like it works like a regular television show, where it's literally just goes for 9 months, and then for those other 3 months of the year, there's literally no WWE television or whatever it is. Versus the other two options I just listed. What do you guys think? What do you think is the best option there?
Beautiful thing about wrestling to me is that there is no off season. I could watch it 52 weeks a year. Like I watch my other,
but these guys are taking a beating.
but what I do think is there should
man.
get a 2 month break, 3 month break every year because it keeps them fresh, it keeps them healthy, and then you get excited when they come back. Cycle them in and out. Not everybody needs to be there all the time. It helps build up bigger.
Not everybody, or are you saying some people get time off, or everybody gets time off during the year?
3 months off a year. You could do it in cycles. Somebody gets January, February, March. You do it in groups. It keeps.
But then every year you're going to have, like, if you want to have a long title reign on somebody, and let's say it's going to go for, let's say, multiple people who are going to have long title reigns. That person needs it. Both those people or all those people need to be written off television every year at a specific time.
Yeah,
you could have a guy off in January and February of this year, but come next year, it could be November, December.
Okay, well then they don't have a year. Then they're on the road from March until October the following year. They're on the road for 18 months then.
Year.
One more time?
You would still get 2 months off at the end of the year.
Sure.
To rest up his body and go be with his family. And maybe you even cycle the following year. He gets off from November to February. He gets 4 months off then. To start the next.
I think it's tricky. I think it's very. I think this is a very hard business. Not even just the stuff. The amount of stuff that happens in the ring is so little compared to, like, a personal experience. If I'm going to work for Impact, I'm leaving here on either a Wednesday night or early Thursday morning, and I'm either driving or flying to a place to get there on Thursday. I'm there all day Thursday. There's no wrestling. It's all set up. Friday was more set up with wrestling that night. Maybe I do it maybe I get a match. Maybe I get a match. If I get a match, I'm reffing that match for 7 to 11 minutes that night. And if I get one match, let's assume I get one match. Okay, then end of the night comes. We got to, wrap everything up, do the same thing the next day. With the Impact does back-to-back days, more setup the next day, maybe another match. So let's say best case scenario again, I'm working 2 nights in a row. I get another match. I'm in the ring again for at best 11 minutes. Now we've got to, at the end of that show, we pack up the ring, we pack up the building, and all the next day we're packing up all the pipe and drape and all the audio stuff, all the LED boards, all that stuff. And now that's Sunday. Now we're on Monday. I'm finally headed home. So from Wednesday night till Monday morning, I'm on the road. I'm busting my ass, building the ring. Maybe I drop something on my hand. Maybe I do, maybe I get hurt somehow. Maybe I fall off a ladder on the pipe and drape. I'm also, I'm going to the gym. I'm eating healthy. I am traveling all over the place. Who knows what happens while you're traveling? All of this and the outside the ring time, I'm saving myself 22 minutes. If I have off the next week, you know what I mean? I'm saving myself 22 minutes of ring time. It's not all about what happens in the ring. It's way more. And that's not just for me as a referee or me as like a guy that helps behind the scenes. Wrestlers, for referees, it's best case scenario. We have multiple matches. There's a lot of guys on Raw and SmackDown who are traveling every week to these shows. And if they're just on Raw, and let's say they do get a segment, maybe they get a 7.5 minute segment. Well, now their whole week has led up to these 7.5 minutes on television. But there's so much else that goes in. That 7.5 minutes doesn't kill them. It's everything else before and after those 7.5 minutes that's tough. And that's where you need to keep them. In my opinion, that's where the time off is necessary.
Yeah. For me, the whole rotate guys and giving time off to certain guys and having to work your storylines around guys who have time off at certain times of the year. I just don't think that's sustainable to the way we have been accustomed to knowing how wrestling is presented on television. I just don't. It puts you
horror stories of booking meetings and everything. Things change, at 6:45. They change for the show at 7.
It puts you in a hole.
There's no way they can plan in advance for somebody to be off everybody to be off a given amount of time per year and not have it get messed up at some point.
Yeah, I like the way it is. I know it's hard on everybody. I think when guys need time off, especially the on-screen guys, I think have a little more power and stroke to have, hey, I'm injured, I need time off. They find ways.
Depends on who you are, man. Like if you're Tom, yeah, sure. If you're Cena, absolutely. What Cena, you want to come in, you come in and wrestle. If you don't want to wrestle, it's your call. But if you're an undercard guy, if you say no, I'm hurt. Well, that's, in my opinion, that is seen as, well, I don't really care that much. If you want to give my spot to somebody else, give it to somebody else. Whatever. It gets very political at that point. This is why guys go on the road with all these injuries, because they're afraid to ask for time off.
They don't want to lose their spot.
Exactly, because somebody else is going to be there and they're going to want it just as much. And they're looking to get the I don't want to say the luck, but like if somebody lucks into their spot, however they got it, or they worked hard for it, and now they're saying, well, no, I'm a little hurt. Can I have off this week? Well, now somebody else is going to want to try to get that opportunity to get into that same spot. And it definitely causes, if you're looking for people to ask for time off, I don't think that's the solution to this.
No,
I almost think people have to be forced to take the time off if that's where we're going.
We're so conditioned to the way it is. For it to change would be so drastically different that I don't know. To me, it would make more sense if you were trying to design an off season instead of just giving off season to certain guys, maybe 2 months out of the year, and rotating your talent in and out. I think you would have to do like from June to the end of August, similar to like a football, you go into the off season and there's no WWE, there's no AEW. That would make more sense from a booking standpoint of, this is the time we're telling our stories. But for fans, advertising, like the whole draw of a wrestling company to a television broadcast partner is, this is content 52 weeks a year. They're constantly there. NFL goes away. They have to find ways to fill that programming. WWE and AEW, hey, we're here. Even during the pandemic, you saw those were two of the companies that still consistently put out a weekly product because they didn't want to be in breach of their television contract. They guaranteed a show every week, and they did it. It's a different animal, and I don't think you could ever switch that. I feel like if you would just abruptly change to a 2 to 3 month off season, fans would revolt. I think fans wouldn't know what to do with themselves. We're
I
so
do think
used to
it
that.
absolutely would change the perspective as well. At least I think. Like, I think right now, knowing that Raw ends at 10 o'clock it works against WWE. Or AEW, whatever time their show, and same thing. Because if this is an organic show and these matches are coming up organically in storyline, right? That allows you to get lost into it. But as a fan, as a longtime fan, okay, it's 9:58. Let's start wrapping this up. 9:59. Okay, we're going home. 10 o'clock comes. Maybe we got a little bit of an overrun. 10:01, 10:02. But we're not going to 10:30. You know what I mean? And that allows you as a fan to check out a little bit. If you then extrapolate that, and we now have an off season starting on July 1st, there's no wrestling. Well, the show before that, we have to assume that we're cutting off stories, that we're getting ready for this big off season. Maybe we do a big cliffhanger. It becomes much more like sitcom TV and just, you know what I mean? It becomes more like not repetitive, but like more, the focus is more on it being scripted and being planned out versus it being organic.
Right.
And that's what wrestling is, right? Like, we like to get lost in it because the more organic it is, the more lost we can get into it. And I think if you do have a scheduled break or scheduled off season, that's already going to play into people's, like, the mind games that is wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. It takes on the life of like an HBO series, like a Sopranos or a Game of Thrones, where they give you the big end of the season cliffhanger, like,
right.
Oh, come back in 3 months when the new season starts.
Something big is going to happen. Well,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I think if you're going to do an off season, that's the way you have to do it. I think rotating guys in and out, I don't think that is
too confusing.
Work. Well, also, too, it's show business, and the show must go on. So the show is going to roll on. So if somebody is heating up and getting hot, and then it's their time to have time off,
what are you going to do, right?
What do you do?
Yeah, then what? Do you go away for 2 months and lose your heat, and then come back? Then you're done.
Well, that's the beauty of the business too. Is like, you're hot, you ride it until the wheels fall off. But we've all seen it where a guy, Cody, when he went over to WWE, he's on this hot run and then he tears his pec and he's on the shelf. And you're like, oh shit, but that opens a spot up. And the guy who comes up into that spot, maybe they get hot. It gives them a chance to step up. But absence makes the heart grow fonder. I've saw it with UFC back in the day when UFC was putting on 6-7 pay-per-views a year. When that pay-per-view would roll around and you hadn't seen a big fight in 2 months, fans were hungry. Fans were really hungry for that event, and they didn't take it for granted. I think wrestling fans definitely take the product for granted a lot of times because we get it every day. But
then you have people like Britt Baker who got hurt and continued to stay on TV and
in different
developed
ways.
her character while she was.
I mean,
we're not talking about that. I'm talking about a complete like break, not just a break from wrestling. Again, that means nothing. It's 11 minutes. I don't care. It's traveling to the building. It's getting there. It's putting the time and the effort in just to be present at the shows, whether you're on it or not, whether you're wrestling or not. I think both of you are right. I don't see how it's done. I think the only option is for Vince to just keep doing what he's doing. Run these guys into the ground.
yeah, it's true.
LA Knight into the office to tell me, yeah, you're red hot right now, but go take 2 months off.
Exactly. Nobody would try if they knew that like their time was coming up and like you get to like that 2 month period. If you were just getting like on the road at that point, your heart would just sink because you knew even if things did work out perfectly, well, I'm going to be off the road and in 2 months, for 3 months, and it's not going to work.
And I think it would make you wouldn't be able to. I think a lot of the fun in booking in wrestling is you're feeling the crowd. If the crowd's getting behind someone, you kind of get behind that wrestler from a booking perspective. You start pushing him a little harder, where I think if you knew this guy is going to be gone between April and May and we're not going to have him, then I feel like it would make for more predictable booking where you wouldn't be listening to the crowd as much. You would have a plan where, okay, we have this guy from June until next April. His push begins when he comes. and we will push him. And then
exactly right.
It would be
the internet fans would absolutely, whether we knew like when the time was coming for the guy to like go off the road, or if they didn't know, then they would be like, well, last year he was off from like February until May. Then is this time coming up now? Like there'd be so much more dirt sheet stuff, and that's the last thing we need.
Yeah, it would be brutal, man. I mean, I think it would change the whole dynamic of fandom and dirt sheet journalism and all of that. It would become a whole different animal.
Maybe we just go back to the old NWA days where they wrestle 7 days a week, twice on Sunday.
Yeah, there
I'm in.
Fuel them with painkillers and cocaine and hit the road, boys.
Can you imagine that's how these guys, even the 80s WWF did that
Crazy.
It's like crazy. They didn't see their families. These guys complain they only get to see their family for like a day or two a week. Those guys didn't see their families for months.
I know, man.
And there was no cell phones, so you weren't going back to the hotel FaceTiming. You weren't calling them all the time. You had to find a payphone to call home and just say hi to your wife. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Anybody have any final thoughts on the off season? Before
I feel for the guys. I feel for the road crew, but as a fan, I want it year round.
Yep. All right, guys. We'll move on to the final topic of the evening. Hangman drinking Swerve's blood.
Great question.
Is this too much?
For me, yes. I can't stomach, like, I love blood in wrestling, but like when I'm watching a TV show and they're doing surgeries, I can't even look at that. I was literally watching like this for the first of the match. What an amazing match. And I know like a lot of people loved it, and I have like drinking blood I don't need to see. The rest of the match might have not been my thing, but I know there's a spot for that in wrestling, and I know there's people who love it. The stapling, I was cringing just picturing like when I've stapled my own finger a little bit and cry. Like, how's this guy taking staples to his chest and acting like it's not even hurting?
To his face too, right?
Oh yeah.
He took one to the cheek and then gave himself some to the chest. So
it's insane. But the drinking of the blood, in my opinion, that was my only problem with the match. Like, I don't want to see a guy drink.
Let's be fair here. I kind of embellished on the drinking the blood. He dripped the blood into his mouth and did the Triple H spit it out move.
I liked. I'll just cut to it. Like, I hated this, but the spitting part, like the mist, that's fantastic. I absolutely love that. But otherwise I'm totally with Tom on this. I understand that blood has its place in wrestling. It's also probably like the referee in me. Like, I surprise, guys. I'm a referee, but I have no real power in that ring. But I still feel responsible for like the guy's safety, even though I'm not like there's nothing I can do for him. So when I do like a death match or just a hardcore something or anything, somebody brings a table into the ring, I get very nervous. I don't like it, and that's translated now to when I'm not even the referee in the match, when I'm not involved in the match, I just don't like seeing it because I'm too worried about the guys getting hurt. It's too much for me. Like, it's not my kind of wrestling. That said, if you have a death match, you need me to ref, feel free to contact me. But it's personally like my preference of wrestling. No, absolutely. I don't like blood at all, but I understand it has a place in wrestling.
For me,
go ahead, Steve.
Not too much. I thought
it was not too much. What is? I want to know what is too much when you're done answering.
No, and it's not too much for me just because like this isn't too far removed from having your opponent's blood on you, and you know they do the BJ Penn lick.
Yeah, the lick off the gloves. And
sure.
it's not too far removed from that.
I think that's the same thing. Yeah.
Because he didn't drink the blood. The blood went in. I think he was in the moment and felt
These guys are tested. I mean, they have I saw people, what if he gets hepatitis? It's like, dude, these guys they're getting their tests.
You know, and this is a sport where, you know, you're pushing the limits all the time. And to get those, you know, we're having a topic about this because of what they did.
People are talking, yeah.
It's getting people talking, and I don't think, you know, putting the blood in the mouth and spitting it out, I think, you know, now if he had put it in his mouth and swallowed, like you put it in a cup and drink it like a Hangman beer, maybe it would.
I don't know. I don't think there's a huge difference in spitting it out versus him ingesting it. I don't think he could spit all of it out. There's no way like he cleansed his mouth by doing the Triple H spit.
I mean, he definitely, his mouth tasted like a penny.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah, he had that nice.
But for me, it wasn't too much. I mean, I enjoyed it.
I absolutely loved it.
Wow, look at this. It's like a rainbow of different like opinions on this stuff.
I loved it. Was it too much? Yeah, but in the best way. Too much in the best way, not in the worst way. Not like you jumped the shark there. That didn't feel to me. It would have been too much if it felt out like it didn't fit the moment. You know, like that's kind of corny. That didn't fit. It felt like Hangman, it was justified in the buildup. This was a blood feud. This was the first time in wrestling that we have paid off an angle where a man breaks into your home and is staring at your baby in his crib and you're not in the home and you want someone to get their comeuppance. If a man broke into my home.
Did that happen?
Yeah. Swerve broke into Hangman's home prior to the match.
Stood over
his son's crib and cut a promo. And now this was like the blood feud. It turned into a blood feud to get to this point. So when Hangman was just full animalistic wild man, and I felt like he was just deranged out of his mind with it. It felt right. It fit to me. Plus it was just a kick-ass visual. When he blew the mist into the air, I was like, I've never seen that. And I think it's one of the best mainstream death matches I've ever seen. I'm not a death match guy. I wouldn't want to see this all the time. I don't want to see bloody death matches all the time. When you see them all the time, it takes the weight from it. But when you have just regular straight wrestling that we're accustomed to, and then you have a very vitriolic blood feud between two dudes who hate each other, and we get this, it hits so much harder. And I felt like finally a payoff to it all came down to Swerve breaking into his home. Imagine another man breaking into your, I mean, I'm going story. It's wrestling. We know it's ridiculous, but he breaks into your home. He stands over your newborn baby son's crib and is laughing while you're in the wrestling arena. You're not home. There's no way you can get to save your wife and your kid. And then you then you have this match where you know you're going to meet this man and you get to do violent things to him for that moment. It finally made sense. How many times have we seen WWE do the angle of the home invasion? The guy breaks in to the fam, and then they have this match, and it's just kind of like
dropped on hip toss.
Yeah, like really? That's all you're going to do to this guy? He broke into your home. Your family's in there. This felt like okay.
That's fair.
He really it felt earned to me. It truly felt earned. So I loved this match. I thought it was incredible.
I'll tell you a story. My wife watches all the pay-per-views with me. She watches wrestling every week. She's watching this match, and she's like, I can't take this. This is too gross. But you know what I noticed? She could not take her eyes off the screen. She couldn't turn away. It was like a wreck. And she just stood there. She stopped crocheting, and she just watched, even though she told me. It captivated her that much, the match and what they did. And it had that feeling. It had that all-time feud feeling with Terry Funk and Dusty. Like
Dusty and the Horsemen. It felt just like real.
Like that. And you know what? I said this to some other people I was talking to. This feud, they're going to keep going back to it. And it's going to keep Swerve going to keep beating Hangman until one day Swerve's going to have the title, and it's going to be that match. Is this when Hangman finally beats him? It's what a great story they've laid out with this, because this feud's going to go on for years. This hatred's not going away. We're going to get to see the beauty of this. And that match they put on the other day, other than the crazy stuff, what an amazing match. Match of the year candidate. Like, I never thought I would be saying this year Hangman would be in one of my match of the years. I never thought that. Wait till
Hangman's son gets old enough. Long-term story.
The new Dominic.
Yeah.
I just loved it. The big thing to me too with this match, beyond just the match in the ring and the physicality and the violence of it, which was impressive. Kudos to both guys for putting their bodies on the line like that. And outside of even the story that was told in the ring, I think the mechanics of the booking of this match was very, very impressive to me, because we're talking about a Hangman who had really lost his way in the eyes of the fans. You know, with all the CM Punk drama, he kind of took a back seat. We're talking about former AEW world champion who had lost steam. Everyone was wondering, like, where's Hangman? He really, like, not been booked correctly. And then on the opposite side, you've got Swerve, who is trying to make his way. Tag team guy, came over from NXT. Everyone saw like potential in him, but he's trying to break into that main event scene. And this is that rare moment in booking where both of these guys come out huge. Like Hangman is a legit badass and he got beat, but he doesn't feel like a loser coming out of this. And Swerve, it's like, here I am. I'm in the main event scene. I can go with any of the top guys and you'll buy him now. So from just a booking mechanic standpoint, I think it was absolutely brilliantly done because both guys came out so much stronger than they did going in.
It kind of reminds me of Randy Orton versus Mick Foley at Mania and Edge, for like how they were both elevated after those matches. Exactly how this reminds me of Swerve here. Like
this is a respect match. Like these are those matches where 10 years from now, when these guys are really like the names in the division, this is those matches that a fan looks back on. You earn the respect of the fans with matches like this, where you're so invested. The storytelling is so good on the buildup, and then the payoff is so much elevates it even more so that this is the, not to put it on this level, but you know, the Bret Hart Stone Cold match, passing out in the sharpshooter with the Crimson Mask. Like you think back to that moment and you're like, damn, that was the moment fucking Stone Cold really became the guy. This is one of those moments to me. I think, 3 years from now, when Swerve's held that world title, we'll look back to this match where this was where it started. This is where he got the heat.
100%. And you won't even remember who won and lost this match. That's not even going to matter. Like Mick Foley being thrown off the cage. That's all we remember about that match. You're just going to remember the match.
Yep.
And you should. That's what needs to be remembered here. Both guys, just bravo. Bravo.
I'll be honest. I think I turned my head a little bit more at the cinder block spot than I did the blood.
The glass.
Yeah.
To me, the most cringe moment of the match was when Swerve hit him in the back with the chair wrapped in barbed wire, and there was a piece of barbed wire that kind of wrapped around Hangman's face and kind of caught his lip and pulled back, and it was totally accident. And that could have been really, really bad. Like it could have ripped him open, but that was the spot where I'm like, oh God.
It was on the turnbuckle, right?
Yeah, when he was standing up on the turnbuckle. That was crazy.
Terrifying. It's terrifying. I hate it. I hate all of it.
All right, guys. Anybody have any final thoughts on Hangman drinking blood?
I loved it, man. It was visceral. It's one of those moments like it's going to be in the highlight packages for years to come.
Sure.
Oh, yeah. You need to have Gangrel there for him tonight.
We have a round robin?
Yep.
Let's get it. Round robin time.
Round robin.
Do death matches hurt or help AEW?
Help. It brings in that whole audience who likes death matches.
I think it does neither. I think it breaks even. I think it brings in fans that love that shit, but I think it does. There's a section of fans that are turned off by it, but I think you about break even. I guess it helps a little bit because I like that they do this because WWE doesn't. If you're a company that's supposed to offer an alternative, these are the things that set you apart. It's a little more adult-oriented wrestling. I think, but in the end, I think it kind of breaks even because some people hate it, some people like it. So I think you break even with it.
I'm going to say short term, it helps AEW. Similar to what Chad was saying, there are fans that love it and there are fans that hate it. The fans that love it you're going to get more of those fans to tune into your show. Fans that hate it are going to hate it, but they're not going to stop watching. They will continue to watch. That's what wrestling fans do. You can beat them up as much as you want. They always come back.
Very true.
Long term, I do think death matches hurt any company. Look at ECW. ECW is the perfect example of this. With death matches, you need to keep getting bigger and bigger and keep doing crazier and crazier stuff. That's what we're already seeing. This year alone, we've seen 2 spots in mainstream wrestling and Impact and AEW where guys are putting staples into their face. Right? I don't remember another year where that happened once, let alone twice. I'm terrified for 2024. You know what I mean? Who knows what is going to happen? And that's what happens, right? Stuff just has to get bigger and bigger and bigger, because if you want people to keep coming back to watch your product, you need to keep outdoing what you did last time. And at a certain point, there's a tipping point, and it gets to be too much. And that's when in my opinion, that's when your fan base can drop off.
Yeah, I'm gonna say help, just because I think in AEW, I like that it's a place for all styles of wrestling. I think all styles have a place, and I think they do it well, showcasing those styles of wrestling. And I agree with Mark. The people that don't like it aren't going to turn away.
They're just going to go to the internet and complain and watch next week.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just get some complaining and a little bit of complaining, and they'll be back. So.
I think the trick of it is you have to pick and choose your spots. Mm-hmm. If you're getting this every 2 to 3 months, you're going to burn out. Now, if this is something when a booking storyline presents itself that calls for this every maybe year and a half to 2 years, I'm for it. You got to pull it out in the most opportune times, but you can't beat this type of stuff over the head. Or, GCW does it, but that's kind of their MO. And I don't think they could ever become a top tier mainstream.
ECW had the same problem, right?
Exactly. You're going to run in. You'll never be a television product on a national scale when that's your MO. I love GCW, but if that's what you're all about, it keeps you from growing on a national basis.
Yeah. You also forgot to mention the hardcore match, the Terry Funk hardcore match they had on SmackDown.
So bad.
Come on, man.
So tame.
They had one spot. It was one chair spot, maybe.
That was like a garbage can spot, I think. There was nothing hardcore about that match.
I just saw all the fans coming out. WWE wouldn't do that match. I'm like, yeah, that WWE does what WWE does, and this is why we like AEW. They offer, if AEW was just doing what WWE does, it's not we want the alternative, man.
That's fair.
All right, guys. Mark, it has been awesome having you back on.
Love it, guys.
Yeah, man. Plug what you have going on. Plug what Stephanie has going on too, man.
Stephanie's my wife. I don't know what she has going on right now. She's currently working on being a DDPY fitness coach. But that's a ways down the line. I don't have much, like I said, Impact is off right now. I've got a couple indie shows coming up. You can follow me at RefMarkBitters on X. Oh, you know what I can plug? Here we go. It's will this come out before December 1st?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. My favorite part of the year, pro wrestling wise, is December. I love pro wrestling toy drives. The week of December 1st. So let me start here. December 1st, Oshkosh, Wisconsin, ACW. They're doing their big 10th anniversary show. They're bringing in Tommy Dreamer, Teddy Long, and Brian Myers. And more importantly, they have a big toy drive for Toys for Tots. So come on out if you're in the area of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, December 1st. I'll be on that show. I'll be reffing, half that show. My schedule that weekend is insane. So that weekend I'm in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. The next day I go to a Christmas party in Atlanta. Then the next morning I fly from Atlanta to New York on December 3rd for live pro wrestling is teaming up with Cujo's Toy Store. That's Teddy Goods out in New Jersey.
Love Teddy.
Teddy's awesome.
Teddy's the man. He is doing the Cujo's Toy World Toy Drive, where the event is featuring, let's see if I have the names. I know it's Mark Sterling will be there. Ethan Page will be there. There's a couple other guys that are going to be there that I don't know. But that's at 3:00, and then 5:00 that afternoon, 2 hours later, we're doing the Whaling City Rumble, which is, I believe, in the building right next door. So toy drive at 3:00, wrestling show at 5:00. That's on the Sunday, December 3rd in New Jersey. What's the town? New Bedford, New Jersey, New Bedford, Massachusetts. You can go to, I don't have a website. Look up Cujo's Toy World. He posts about it all the time. That's Sunday, December 3rd. Then on Monday, December 4th, I drive from Massachusetts. I thought it was New Jersey. Apparently it's Massachusetts. All the way back to New York, where it is the major wrestling figure podcast holiday toy drive. I think this is their 5th or 6th one. There's no wrestling show this time, but they are doing a live podcast. And to get into that, you need to bring 5 brand new wrapped. I believe it's wrestling figures, not just any toys, but this one specifically only wrestling figures. There are great ways to donate. Just go to the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast Twitter page, and they'll help you out there. Just give this holiday season, guys.
Yeah.
Give. That's my big thing in December. I love to give back, and this weekend, that weekend in December, I am looking forward to it more so than any other weekend in 2023. I'm also dreading it more so than any other weekend in 2023, just based on the amount of travel I'm going to have to do. But right now, I think it's a good idea. So we're going to have a good time.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, on Monday, Mark. I'll be there.
Oh, you'll be there? Oh, fantastic. Good.
All right. That is going to wrap us up for this edition of the Turnbuckle Debate. Make sure you guys are heading over to theturnbuckletavern.com for all of your tavern needs. Tom, plug your shit. Get your shit in.
OG Fig, Twitter and Instagram, Fig Night, 7 p.m. every Tuesday. Me and Mike Belcast.
All right. With all that being said, court is dismissed.